working with the pigments and the earth samples, I think I'm creating documents of the earth. I sort of, it's a push for realism in an abstract way. And what realism, I'm going to have to credit John Lent with this, is realism took a whole bunch of different phases, but it all comes back to the movement of realism to accurately describe what is happening around you, unromantically, to take a critical eye for the common, and not favor necessarily one elitist subject matter over another. I mean, portraiture and landscape painting was way down, and political painting was way up. Realism came in, and it came in with literature and music and art. So the visual and performing expressions all eventually tripped onto realism and followed it. And every movement since then has been a modification of realism. So even in the futuristic movement, well, they're really looking at what is happening around them. They're looking at fast automobiles, fast cars, lights. Surrealism, well, the 60s happened, and bombs dropped, and life became surreal. So surrealism became another mode of realism to show what was happening, what was going on in the psyche of man. And this long story turning longer, I think the sediment, the dirt that I'm looking at is a way of getting back to what is tangible. We've gotten into incredible digital technology. We've got liquid plasma screens, but dirt still exists, and dirt is still what we walk on, and dirt is the earth is still that thing that can rattle and shake and take out a nation. Haiti, we've got Haiti happening right now, and that brings us back to the earth. Everything will come back to the earth. So I think this is a stint in realism to really examine the earth that we're walking on. We've got different pigments. I've got different grounds. I think it's speaking to time as well, because the dirt will be there long after we will. So just by using dirt, I'm incorporating elements of time and age relationships between us and the dirt. And it's almost like I'm painting backwards. I'm unpainting. I've gone from really tight, perfect canvases that are primed 3 times, sanded in between, and a perfect painting surface according to some authority. And now I've gone to suspending loose canvas from a ceiling with hooks and wire and rope, and pouring paint into it and letting it dry in an amorphous form. So I think I don't know if you can undo a canvas more than that, other than maybe putting it through a shredder and then trying to weave it back yourself. What I'm going to do is pour onto the high point. I don't know how you wash dirt, but it's kind of the best way to describe it. You get the finest particles suspended in the world. It's almost like mining for gold. Gold will fall to the bottom. Well, I want the heavy particles to fall to the bottom because they're not very fine. They're more like gravel. And even though I've sifted it through a sifter, really, if possible, at this point, in this stage in the game, I want powder. So I pour off the top. What you can see in there is the gravel, which is full of different colors and black and other things. That's the yellow. Then I add acrylic. Lumpy acrylic, and stir. Now the pigments may fight with each other, which is fine. It's just how they are. One will pick up the other one and pull it. You add new fluid, that'll happen. And there's a rise right where I'm pouring. We'll see where it wants to go, so it might go this way. It might go that way a little bit. Looks like it wants to just go. Now I know there's an incline here, so what I will do, hang on, want to leave that alone and look on this side. You'll see the particles falling into crevices and holes. You have a pool and a puddle. All the minerals have generally fallen, and then you shift the fluid acrylic, whatever's suspended, the lighter particles, sometimes Hansa yellows will like to float. They're just happy. So they'll float and migrate with the fluid and with the heavier minerals left behind. So you add 3 different types of paints. They have 3 different characteristics of heaviness. If you can exploit them and break them in the same pool and puddle, then you have all 3 colors slowly separating and doing these types of things. So you have to watch your paint. You have to learn how that happens. But sometimes you just don't know. And when you're working with water and a non-direct, indirect method such as this, you have to allow nature to do its thing. You can't control. In an artistic landscape, I'd like to see myself positioned somewhere in between Andy Goldsworthy, Smithson and the Spiral Jetty, and Mark Rothko, because I can't get away from being a painter. I'm not just a sculptor, and yet I have these huge ideas that I can put rocks in a pond or in a lake and slowly have them sink, but still always have them be there. I think that's somewhere between those 3. I think I can have my little tile in the mosaic of artists in the world. I have a decision to make, and my decision is what to do with this bowl. It's a canvas. It's a 3rd process. It disrupts the rock flow of that side to this side. It is dead center and goes well with this canvas behind in the center. But I'm worried about adding too many elements, and I'm thinking less may be more. And so basically I'm going to experiment a little bit with how things look. If I don't like it, it's coming out. If I'm okay with it, it'll stay in. My concern is that it's a distraction to the paintings and that the 2 don't marry as well with it. However, it is good. I'm really happy with this exhibition. I think the decision to put the basalt stones on the floor, although labor intensive, I think is worth every moment. I looked at that space and really wanted to create an environment. There was a good 3 feet of depth, and I really saw that as an opportunity to explore that space inside that window, that it wasn't just about the paintings. And the rocks really show you a journey between rock and pigment, rock and the dust and the dirt that I collected. It shows a relationship. They have an innate relationship with each other. And without the stones, I think it just becomes about painting. In some shows I've shown it a live piece that is still unfolding, it's still drying, it's still creating its own composition. You create factors so that it can interact with those factors. I've created suspensions, well, it has to compensate with being suspended. But I think the fact that showing an audience something that it's going to be different tomorrow. It'll be much the same, but it'll have been one day older, one day more dry. That it isn't resolved. There isn't a solid answer for everything. So by showing something that is unresolved, that it is still becoming, it's going to become something a little bit different tomorrow, is a really sort of wonderful thing. I don't think it's the best thing. It's what I'm doing, and I think it's an important message somewhere in all of this. You may look at the painting and say, well, that's dirt. I would look at the painting and saying something happened. It provides everything. We're riding on a rock. We're being hurled through space. Plants grow. Trees bud and bloom and leaf. And it happens no matter what. Something is happening underneath our feet. And I think just those types of ideas of providing human in context with something so utterly ancient, I think is a very interesting thing. We're the young people, no matter how old we are, we're the young ones walking on this old rock with a bunch of water on it. I think that dynamic in itself is something inspiring. You can go for days on that. You can create artwork just by looking at ground. And I think I have done that in this last series of work. A serious component is the earth and the ground that we walk on, and the one we take for granted most of the time. If somebody can come up to a painting of mine and look at it and have the painting look back, I think that is something I'm always after. To command the attention of the viewers or the audience, to have somebody walk by, look at it, and somewhere they lose themselves. I think something that has taken 30 days to create, just simply the marks on the canvas over 30 days, I think it demands somebody's 5 minutes. And if I can do that, then I think I know I've done my job. It's to take somebody away from their crazy life and to just simply to look at the wonder